What?
Sorry, can I before that ask you something? Because
Yeah.
I'm when I have you on the screen, I'm a little bit frustrated. So because I look at you, not
Ah,
at the camera, can I put something on my screen and
how about that?
uh,
No, I shouldn't be there.
yeah, I think that now it's better. I put something on my screen, so it's not a problem for you if I don't see you.
No, so I've turned my camera off now as well.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's best you don't see me, yeah, because then you just look at the camera. Keep on looking at the camera, and then it's like you're looking at the audience.
Sorry, just a second. Излезте и двамата. И двамата. Моля ви, излезте и двамата. Sorry.
No problem.
But I have some stuff around me.
No worries.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So if I can I stop if I
Yeah.
don't know, for example,
Oh,
or
yeah,
I should think a little or something like that.
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Look at the camera for me now. That's it. Keep on looking there, yeah? That's it. So keep on looking like that's the person. Even put something next to it to remind you to look at it. Because sometimes people forget.
Yeah. Okay.
Look, we're only using a few minutes of this, so there's no problem with mistakes or perfect English or taking your time. Do whatever you need, and if you don't know the answer, just tell me. There's no problem.
Okay, I will do my best, really.
Okay.
And how much time do we need?
About half an hour, maybe, roughly.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so you're looking at the camera, yeah? Yeah, great. So
That's a problem for me to look on the camera, but I will do my best. I don't know.
Do your best. You can look away and then is it because it feels strange for you? Oh no. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Yeah.
Okie doke. So tell me about what's your particular job? What do you do?
Currently, I work in General Directorate Execution of Sentences of Bulgaria, which is the organization, the body responsible for the supervision and management of prison services, pre-detention centers, and probation services. My position is head of the Department for International Cooperation and Training of Staff. So I have the honor to be responsible for all the international activities, all project activities, and training and professional development of staff in Bulgaria.
What challenges do we face in Europe with convicted terrorist offenders? What are the things you think? What are the problems and the difficulties we face across Europe?
In general, prisons are very, very challenging setting. They are mirror of the society, and prison life is influenced by the same challenges and phenomena, including radicalization and violent extremism. In particular, prisons can be a potential breeding ground for radicalization, in which individuals are more likely than elsewhere to explore new beliefs, new faiths, new paths. Confronted with many existential questions and deprived of their usual life and usual social contacts, they become more vulnerable. The complexity of challenges in prisons related to poor material conditions, overcrowding, lack of staff, lack of meaningful activities are factors that create opportunities for very good recruiters or extremists to talk on free will about religion, faith, values, and to indoctrinate more vulnerable inmates. As we said, and it's not difficult to plant the seed. in these conditions. There are, of course, many other challenges. For example, staff.
So let me interrupt. So we don't want to just cover too much, but we'll come back to staff. But
okay, sorry.
Let me ask you, what is it in terms of? So is the big worry that convicted terrorists will influence other prisoners? Is that for you the biggest challenge?
From my perspective, this is one of the biggest challenges, but there are many others, because sometimes prison dynamics are something unexpected. And of course, it depends of the domestic situation. You know that in many member states, they are still debating what approach to apply in relation with the regime and the level of regime, and how to prevent the spread of radical ideas among the prison population. The debate is between two main options: to mix, to disperse the persons who are violent extremist offenders, or to segregate them in special units. Both options have positive and negative effects, of course. If we observe the first option, to mix violent extremist offenders with the general prison population, this sometimes could how to say, this is a very good opportunity for them to meet other criminal networks or vulnerable inmates and to indoctrinate them. But on the other hand, if we separate them, actually we can even more increase the radical beliefs, putting them into destigmatization effect of isolation, could reinforce their radical ideas even. So there are many challenges. One of them is this risk to indoctrinate other vulnerable inmates, but also staff is in vulnerable position.
I mean, you said that the negative things in integration were that they could influence other prisoners, right? But what are the benefits? What are the positives of having them mixing with other prisoners? You said the negatives, but I don't know, why would you do that?
Because you asked me about challenges.
I know, of course, but I wondered. Yeah, but of course, yeah. But I wanted to know, what do you think are the benefits of integrating them and mixing them?
Yeah, because you asked me about challenges, and challenges is like synonym of problems, you know.
Correct. My fault.
No. It's great. The question is great. The benefits, there as well benefits, but because they have being among the other prison population, they have access to more programs, more interventions, more access to professionals depending on their needs and the risk they represent. They're not isolated, they're not marginalized traditionally, they're not stigmatized. Also, this effect of pro-social modeling is more powerful when you are between people who are not sharing your issue, and you have the opportunity to learn, to learn something new way of life, new way of understanding life even.
Excellent. And what about separation? What are the benefits for them of being separated?
I don't think that there is a right and wrong answer. It depends on the individual case. When we operate with violent extremist offenders and in general high-risk offenders, the individual approach is very important because they represent different levels of risk. Some of them could have some mental health issues or psychological problems. So it very much depends on the individual case. But if we segregate them, we can, from safety and security reasons, this is the most wanted options from prison staff, because because this is a way to prevent the other part of the prison population from indoctrination, for example.
Got you. What about
Sorry,
your?
can you,
What's
yeah.
what's the situation in Bulgaria? What specific challenges do you? Well, actually, before I ask that, what do you think? Which do you think is the most effective route, personally, to separate or to have them in the general population? Do you have a take on it yourself?
No, I don't have clue. I'm sorry. I don't have clue. As I said, it depends of the domestic situation. It depends of the individual case. It depends of many external, internal factors. It really depends. Every person is individual case. Every person in prison is individual universe. That's why training, I would like one more time to stress how important is the preparedness and training of prison staff. They should be able to recognize all the signs and take decisions, very important decisions.
And do you feel that's an area that hasn't been addressed properly across Europe, or how do you feel about the staff training?
I think that we still have gaps. We still have gaps in staff training, especially in relation with new categories of offenders in our prison environments. Not only with violent extremist offenders, but we have many other very challenging categories of offenders in our prisons. But staff should be trained to recognize the signs of radicalization, to know how to operate, how to articulate with all the challenges related to the specific characteristics of violent extremist offenders, and to be able to reflect the needs, the special needs, of course, in line with human rights. This is very important.
Okay, great. And what about your country? What's the situation in Bulgaria? What specific challenges do you face there?
Currently in Bulgaria, we are not facing huge challenges with violent extremist offenders. According to the recent information I have, we at the moment only 4 people are serving in our prisons sentences for terrorist-related crimes. And they are treated equally and have the same rights and obligations and follow the ordinary procedures like the other part of the prison population. They are not segregated. So they're under the monitoring of social workers, psychologists, and security experts. And this is absolutely not for the moment big issue in Bulgaria, but we are investing a lot in the prevention. And we are partners in many international projects facing radicalization and violent extremism. We provide a special modular training for prison and probation staff on radicalization and violent extremism, some basic knowledge, some basic skills. This module is also part of the training for new appointed prison staff. So we are investing in prevention. Can you hear me?
Yeah, got you. Sorry, I got a little cut off there.
Yeah, sorry.
And then, so just to cover, so excellent answers, by the way, just to very, very good, and you're covering everything. It's wonderful. In terms of across generally, what stages of rehabilitation do prisoners, violent extremist prisoners, go through from entering prison to release? What are the different stages of rehabilitation?
You are asking about my country?
No, I think generally, I mean, it could be your country, but I'm assuming that people are assessed and then they're given
Oh, yes, yes. If you ask in general,
general, yeah.
again, we have diverse practices across Europe, you know. But the more ordinary, let's say, case is they are assessed. In some prison services, they operate with specially designed risk assessment tools for violent extremism offenders. In many countries, there are some limitations in using these tools because of internal reasons, regulations, legislation, lack of staff who is trained to deal with these special instruments. So many other, there are already many other developed risk assessment tools for example, for violent extremist offenders who are in use in case of violent extremist offenders. And then the rehabilitation should start. In one perfect word, the rehabilitation and reintegration should start. There are many programs. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
I have some problems, I think. Sorry.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Not very well.
How about now?
Yeah, it's better. It's better.
I'm sitting very close now. So yeah, no, you're coming across really well. So carry on.
Okay, about interventions and rehabilitation was the question.
Yeah.
So but we have some important challenging to tackle, because the main challenging concerning interventions and prison-based programs designed to intervene with violent extremist offenders is the insufficient evaluation of their impact, and this is everywhere across Europe, except maybe one or two countries with more experience. In tailoring rehabilitation programs for violent extremist prisoners, formulating achievable and measurable short-term and long-term objectives, as well as indicators, is crucial for monitoring the progress of the inmate, of the prisoner, and the effectiveness of the program. This is very, very crucial, I think, issue. How do we assess the effectiveness? How do you know if this program is successful or not? The most important aspect is also to define what we are going to provide. What actually do we need in our context, in our domestic context? De-radicalization program, or disengagement approach, or both, or something more in the context of resocialization. It depends of the needs. And another important element is the multidisciplinary approach. This approach is crucial to ensure that the complexity of the issues underlying violent extremism can be appropriately addressed. Otherwise, the interventions could be counterproductive, actually.
I mean, there's a couple of questions really. We'll have to just repeat the bit about socialization because the phone went there. So you were saying, is resocialization an option? One of the options we choose. Oh, I've lost you. Hello? No sound at the moment. There we go.
I'm sorry, something is going on with my internet. It was fine the whole day, but now I lose connection.
Mine really. Too. But I've got you most of it's coming through, to be honest. There's a tiny bit we missed at the end there. I wanted to just...
What I said at the end of your previous question is that the multidisciplinary approach inside prison is very important, because as we already talked before, we should tackle all the specific needs of the person, and we need different experts, different professionals who are competent to work to collaborate with this situation.
I mean, I guess there's a big problem in some situations for a number of reasons. I mean, one is that things are changing in terms of funding so rapidly as a result of COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and the kind of emergency measures, economic measures that people are taking across Europe. And the second thing is that often, you know, one discipline's well funded and one structure is well funded and well informed, and another one isn't. And I wondered about that difficulty of joining up. You know, when we say multidisciplinary, it's a very understandable, holistic idea. You know, we have to have a circle of people supporting individuals. And I wondered if you feel like sometimes that's really difficult in some places where people don't speak the same language professionally.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really understand each other. They don't even respect each other professionally in some cases. So you may have an issue between different departments or different disciplines. I wonder if you could talk about that and why that isn't also a challenge.
Um, it is, of course, it is. This is a part of the list of challenges relating to prisons. The resources you mentioned,
Oh, you got cut off there.
actually to respond to the high expectations of the society, of the stakeholders, because it's little easy when you are discussing the prison situation from outside and be blended actually what is going on inside. The support is another important issue. Prisons should not be regarded as lonely actor. There are many other actors who can operate inside and are, from my perspective, obliged to operate outside with the persons who are released, because reformation and
Nadia,
that, yeah.
you keep on freezing, I'm afraid. It's the internet, and I wonder if we could take that question from the beginning because I lost so much of that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize.
I'm not sure if I can repeat everything.
You don't need to. I think
I said, when did you lost me? Did you hear
twice.
about resources or before?
Well, I heard a bit. I heard a bit about the responsibility inside and outside of prison, and some.
Oh, yeah. I remember. What I wanted actually to say, I think it's a very important and strong message that prisons should be not regarded as a lonely actor. There are many other actors who can operate inside prisons, and from my perspective are obliged to operate outside prisons when persons are released, especially when we are discussing very special categories like violent extremist offenders, because reforming and reintegration of violent extremist offenders is a long process which does not end behind prison walls, and this should be clear for everybody, including for the community who has a very high expectations. I don't think that inside prisons the staff is Superman or Superwoman and we have a magic ball to reform the persons, the people for 1 year or for 2 years. This is a process, long-term process that should continue outside prisons, and aftercare support is very important.
And is that happening enough?
Again, it depends of the country. It depends of the country. For example, in my country, we face many challenges related to multi-agency cooperation for persons who are released from prisons. In most of the cases, we are collaborating with NGOs. They are investing many efforts to provide services for ex-offenders, especially ex-offenders after serving, ex-prisoners after serving long-term sentences, because in my country and according to the legislation, we have long-term sentences, really long. We are trying to cooperate with the social services, but every time there are other priorities. Prisons are somewhere on the queue.
Right.
But as I said, there are different countries and there are different understandings and different culture regarding the situation of persons who are released from prison. I know for very well developed systems across Europe, especially the Scandinavian area, and they have a great and very successful experience.
And does that worry you that there's such a disparity and inequality in terms of this across Europe?
Yes, because we are facing the same challenges. How do we react? How brave are we in our reactions, in our decisions? Really is something that should be discussed in future. There should be, I think, a better consensus between policymakers and practitioners, because maybe they should meet somewhere. They should start talking on the same language, and maybe this is a way to find solutions, to find more successful practices, and to be more successful in the reintegration of ex-prisoners. But there is no, you know, we cannot be the same because we have different legislations. We operate with different resources. For example, you cannot.
Oh, I've cut you off. You've cut off again. I can't
hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
I didn't get that answer, I'm afraid.
You didn't get the answer again?
Not that one, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said that it's very difficult to compare the different jurisdictions because we have different legislations, we have different perceptions, we operate with different amount of resources. For example, it is very difficult to compare Bulgaria with Norway.
So you froze again, I'm afraid.
I'm sorry, I really don't know what is going on.
It's just classic. When you're on Zoom and you have to do it, it always chooses the moment to kind of not work. You know, the internet.
I don't know why that happened. Usually it doesn't, but today is Murphy's rules, you know.
Okay, so let me just check. It should be okay. Yeah, I've got you there now. So I mean, that's a really good point. That it's impossible to compare Norway to Bulgaria, for example, because.
For example, yeah.
Do you want to just repeat that, because it's also there's such a different resource you know, the resources, the legislation, and the culture are all three very different things, right?
But what is strange, what is how to say, I don't have explanation, is that everywhere the expectations are the same. The resources are different, and you cannot compare, for example, Bulgaria with Norway, but the expectation of the society in Norway are the same like the expectations in Bulgaria.
Okay.
Different resources, same expectations, and sometimes big discrepancy between both.
Yeah. No, what? So for some reason, this image is just going to pot at the moment, so I'm not getting to see. It keeps on freezing.
No, I'm here.
Yeah, I know you. I know you're there, but it's on my end. The image was freezing there again, as in.
Believe me, it happened for the first time, really.
Okay. So
Sorry
just
about it.
once more, just to ask you about the difference between Norway and Bulgaria.
It was just an example, really.
Yeah, it was a really good example. If you could just repeat that for me, that'd be great.
Okay, to repeat. Okay, for example, it is very difficult to compare Bulgaria with Norway.
And why is that? Why is that? Oh, no.
Available, different understanding, different perception, different role of the prison service in the society. But as I said, the expectations from the community, from the stakeholders are the same, despite if you are working in a prison in Norway or in Bulgaria.
Okay, great. Thank you. You mentioned staff training, and I think you covered that. What kind of training do staff need to get? Do you know what? It's frozen again. I wonder whether we should carry on Monday or something. Hi. Hello. I still can't hear you.
No, I'm here, but I don't know if this is from my internet or because with the other computer everything is fine.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop this Zoom call and I'm gonna go onto my other computer, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And in another room and see if it makes a difference. Okay?
Yeah. So you are going to leave the room now?
Yeah, and then I'm gonna go on a different computer. Okay?
Okay.